Hales here with day 3 of our penguin project. Today we're going to add the backgrounds. So your penguin should be drawn and it should be colored, and anything else that you wanted to put in the sky or in the landscape with or behind your penguin, you should have done that already, and you should be all ready to paint the background. So we're going to paint the background with watercolor paint, and we're going to paint an aurora. A what, Miss Hales? An aurora. Now, most of you are probably asking, what is an aurora? Well, an aurora is a beautiful light show that happens in the sky. It's more visible at night, and it has to do with electric particles or heat particles and wind particles that come from the sun and enter our atmosphere or our sky and our air on our planet. And those particles or energy waves are activated by the magnetism that is on our North Pole and our South Pole. So in the North Pole, when we have an aurora, we call it an aurora borealis. And in the Southern Hemisphere or the South Pole where penguins live, we have auroras called aurora australis. So basically, to see the aurora borealis, you have to be in like Alaska, or sometimes people can see them in up in Washington State or in like Canada or Minnesota, someplace near the northern hemisphere, or on the top of the northern hemisphere near the North Pole. And then to see the aurora australis, you have to be near the South Pole or the southern hemisphere. So people in Australia can see that. I'm sure people in maybe in Argentina or in the Southern Africa or Southern America, Southern South America can see that. Or if you're in the Antarctic, you can see the aurora australis. I'm not exactly sure why the colors that show up in the different auroras that show up the way they do, but if you look at different pictures of them, you can see pink and yellow and green and turquoise and blue. I mean, yellow, almost every color in the rainbow is visible in the aurora borealis or the aurora australis. So you are going to paint your own aurora australis behind your penguin, and it is a wet on wet watercolor painting technique. Now, we don't have watercolor paper, so it's not going to come out like it would if we painted on watercolor paper, but we're going to do our best. I am painting the area behind my penguin with clear water. So I'm just wetting my paper with clear water. I'm trying not to get the water onto my penguin or my mountains or my land, because then my paint's going to go there. I'm going to pre-wet the colors that I want to use in my watercolor palettes. I'm going to use blue and turquoise and lime green and violet color. And then I'm going to paint swirls of those colors, one section or one color at a time. You want to work as quickly as you can without making a big mess, because or without getting paint where you don't want it, because you want your colors to blend together or mix together while they're still wet. So if you work quickly, then your paint will still be wet and your colors will blend together just like you would see them in the sky. So now I'm going to take some purple right here next to my blue. And remember, with watercolor paint, you can always kind of reactivate the paint or help the paint colors blend together if they start to dry by going over that dry area with a little bit more water. So I'm going to mix a darker blue in with my magenta color or my violet color and my blue. And it's okay to bring a few stripes or a little bit of that color down into your blue. I'm going to try to paint around my penguin's feather. And I'm just going to keep working my way across my paper. Don't wet your entire paper behind your penguin at once, because it'll just dry. And each time you wet the paper, I don't want to say it's not good for the paper, but kind of destroys the integrity of the paper. The other thing that's difficult when we're not working with watercolor paper is if you go over and over and over the same area like 20 times with a watery paintbrush, you're going to eventually start to peel up or pull up layers of the paper itself. And you'll know that because you get these little tiny balls of paper. You've probably done that before. We don't want that to happen. So you want to put your stripes down or your different colors on wet paper, but you don't want to keep having to go over and over and over those areas too many times. So if you end up with kind of stripes of color, that's totally fine. Think about the shape that you're putting your colors down in. I tried to do like a curved shape so it would look like a swoosh, because remember I told you these auroras happen with energy particles and wind particles from the sun in our atmosphere. So you want to kind of show that the aurora is moving through the sky or activated by wind. So you don't want to paint like straight stripes. Another piece of advice I have for you is to put a piece of paper underneath your painting so that you can carry it to the dry rack or leave it to dry on another piece of paper. That way it won't rip. So the supplies that you need today are obviously your penguin drawing. You need your watercolor palette, a water cup, and the largest paintbrush that you have. You could try to use a foam brush. I'm not sure how that would work, but you want to use the largest watercolor brush that you can, either a flat one or a round one. So you also need another piece of paper, any color or any kind of paper, to put underneath your painting and while you paint, and that's all you need. All right, boys and girls, enjoy painting your auroras. Use your favorite colors or whatever colors you want to try blending together. Remember, you can use dark blue, you can use dark purple. You want to really use a lot of thick, juicy color. So in order for you to get your paint like that, you need to put a considerable amount of water on your little paint palette and let it sit for a few minutes. All right, peace out, people.